In 1994, a father took his two sons to watch the World Cup in the United States. The tickets cost $25 each. They stood in a crowd of 90,000 people, shoulder to shoulder with strangers from every corner of the earth, united by nothing more than a leather ball and a shared heartbeat. That was the World Cup. That was what it was supposed to be. Fast forward 32 years, the same tournament, the same country, the same dream. But today, that father's grandchildren cannot afford to walk through the gate. The cheapest available ticket to watch a group stage match at the 2026 FIFA World Cup costs $560. Not the final, not the semifinal. A group stage match, the footballing equivalent of a Tuesday afternoon in January, and FIFA, the organization that calls itself the guardian of the beautiful game, looked the world in the eye and said the fans should. And this is a direct quote from FIFA President Gianni Infantino. Simply chill. This is the story of how the most watched sporting event in human history stopped belonging to the people who love it and started belonging exclusively to the people who can afford it. To understand what FIFA has become, you need to understand what FIFA was always designed to be. The Fédération Internationale de Football Association was founded in Paris in 1904 by 7 European nations who wanted a governing body to oversee international football. For its first several decades, it was exactly that, a governing body. Modest, administrative, largely invisible. Then in 1974, a Brazilian businessman named João Havelange ran for FIFA president on a single promise. He would turn football into a global product. He won, and over the following 2 decades, Havelange did exactly what he promised. He expanded the World Cup. He signed landmark deals with Adidas and Coca-Cola. He turned a sporting tournament into a corporate event of unprecedented scale. By the time a Swiss administrator named Sepp Blatter took over in 1998, the machine was already running. Blatter simply removed the brakes. Under his 20-year reign, FIFA transformed from a sporting organization into something that had no real name in the English language. A non-profit organization that generated billions in untaxed profits, operated with the transparency of a private club, and answered to absolutely no one. The World Cup was no longer a tournament. It was a product, packaged, priced, and sold to the highest bidder. And the fans, the people who had built this sport with their voices and their passion and their father's $25 tickets, became, in the cold mathematics of FIFA's balance sheet, simply consumers. For years, the ticket pricing model of the World Cup was one of football's few remaining democratic gestures. FIFA understood, at least on paper, that the World Cup derived its power from its accessibility. The sight of a Senegalese family watching their national team, a Mexican grandfather weeping in the stands, a South Korean student who saved for 2 years for a single ticket. These images were not just emotional, they were the product. They were what broadcasters paid billions to capture. They were what sponsors paid hundreds of millions to be associated with. The fans were not just spectators, they were the raw material of the entire operation. And for decades, FIFA priced tickets accordingly. Then came 2026, and everything changed. For the first time in World Cup history, FIFA introduced dynamic pricing, the same algorithmic model used by airlines and concert promoters to maximize revenue by charging whatever the market will bear at any given moment. The results were immediate and brutal. Tickets that opened at manageable prices surged within hours. A group stage seat that started at $200 climbed to $500, then $800, then beyond $1,000 based on nothing more than demand signals fed into an algorithm that had no concept of loyalty, tradition, or what the World Cup is supposed to mean. Fan organizations across the world erupted. Football Supporters Europe, representing millions of fans across the continent, issued a statement calling it a monumental betrayal. And then the man who perhaps understood the situation better than anyone else stepped forward and said what everyone was thinking. His name is Miguel Maduro. He is not a journalist. He is not a fan activist. He is not a rival football official with an axe to grind. He is the former head of governance at FIFA itself. And in the days leading up to the 2026 World Cup, he stood before the world and delivered a verdict on his former employer that was as precise as it was devastating. FIFA, he said, suffers from a fundamental and irreconcilable conflict of interest. On one hand, it is the regulator of global football. Its mandate is to protect the sport, ensure its accessibility, and guarantee that revenues benefit the entire football ecosystem, from the world's largest stadiums to the smallest pitches in the poorest nations on earth. On the other hand, it is a commercial operator. And as a commercial operator, its incentive is to maximize income. As a regulator, Maduro said, FIFA ought to be making sure that the entire ecosystem of football benefits from the revenues. That means, for example, that as many fans as possible ought to have access to matches. As a commercial actor, however, the primary concern of FIFA is to maximize its income. The commercial actor, he concluded, had won, and without independent mechanisms of oversight, without any genuine checks and balances, it would keep winning. The regulator and the profiteer were the same organization, and the profiteer had consumed the regulator entirely. But the ticket scandal is only the most visible symptom of a much deeper disease, because while fans were being priced out of the stadiums, something else was quietly happening in the corridors of power between FIFA and the United States government. Something that would affect not just the fans in the stands, but the 48 national teams competing on the pitch. For every previous World Cup hosted in a country with significant tax infrastructure, FIFA negotiated comprehensive tax exemption agreements with the host government. These agreements protected FIFA's revenues, protected sponsor profits, and, crucially, protected the prize money awarded to competing national teams from local taxation. It was standard practice, expected, automatic. For 2026, it did not happen. The Trump administration and FIFA failed to reach a comprehensive tax agreement before the tournament began. The consequences are extraordinary. Most of the 48 competing nations will now be required to pay United States federal taxes on the prize money they receive from FIFA, money that will also be taxed again when it returns to their home countries. The winner of the 2026 World Cup receives $50 million. Before that money reaches the winning federation, the United States government will take its share. Then the winning country's own government will take its share. FIFA, meanwhile, will have already collected its $13 billion in revenue, exempt, as always, from local taxation in the host country, protected by agreements that somehow always seem to get finalized when FIFA's money's involved, and somehow always seem to stall when everyone else's money's at stake. The teams pay, the fans pay, the host cities pay, FIFA collects. And it is here, in this gap between what FIFA takes and what FIFA gives, that the true nature of the organization reveals itself. FIFA describes itself as a non-profit dedicated to growing the global game. Its president flies on private jets. Its executives stay in five-star hotels, their bills covered by an organization that pays no taxes in any country where it operates. Its reserves, accumulated over decades of untaxed profits, sit in Swiss bank accounts beyond the reach of any government on earth. In 2015, the facade cracked open in the most dramatic fashion imaginable. Swiss plainclothes police officers arrived at the luxury Borolac Hotel in Zurich at dawn and arrested senior FIFA officials in their bathrobes. The charges filed by the United States Department of Justice were staggering. Decades of systemic bribery, wire fraud, money laundering, racketeering. Millions of dollars in cash, wired through shell companies and offshore accounts, paid to secure votes for World Cup hosting rights. The selection of South Africa in 2010 was tainted. Russia in 2018 was tainted. Qatar in 2022, a decision that resulted in the most expensive sporting event in human history at $220 billion and was attended by credible allegations of worker deaths and human rights abuses, was tainted. The beautiful game the world discovered in those early morning hours in Zurich had been running on institutional corruption for decades. Sepp Blatter resigned. His deputy resigned. Official after official fell. And then, after the storm, after the arrests, after the congressional hearings and the documentary films and the global outrage, Gianni Infantino took over, and the machine kept running, not reformed, rebranded. Today, on the opening day of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, 95 billion people will watch the tournament over the course of its 5 weeks. The atmosphere in the stadiums will be electric. The goals will be breathtaking. The stories of unlikely nations and legendary players and last-minute miracles will be genuinely, powerfully moving. The World Cup is still capable of producing magic. That is not in question. What is in question is who that magic belongs to. Because in the seats of those stadiums, the faces have changed. The families who once saved for months to buy affordable tickets are gone, priced out by an algorithm in a Zurich office that will never watch a single match. In their place sit corporate guests, hospitality package holders, and the kind of people for whom $560 is simply the cost of an afternoon. The crowd still roars, but it no longer sounds quite the same. FIFA has discovered something that every monopoly eventually discovers. That when you control something people love deeply enough, you can charge almost anything for it, and they will still pay. The question is not whether they will pay. The question is what gets lost in the transaction. And what gets lost, slowly, quietly, match by match and price hike by price hike, is the soul of the thing itself. The $25 ticket, the father and his two sons, the 90,000 people standing shoulder to shoulder, all of it converted, efficiently, ruthlessly, algorithmically, into revenue, money, power, secrets. If this story made you see the world differently, subscribe to Pitch Economy. Every week we go behind the scoreboards, past the trophy lifts, and into the invisible boardroom where the real game is played. The next story is already waiting.